We're in a land where you could kill people. And you could get away with it. You're in the land of your captivity, in the land of your exile. You ask, well, why are you laughing? That's not a funny. Why are you laughing about this? Because it's evident, it's made clear to us of what our situation is and what we're going through. I mean, really, just really think about what's being said here. Okay, we're in a place right now where you can actually kill somebody, and then that person can go to court and actually get away with it. Yes, the circumstances were, difficult to think about, but I'm just thinking about the life, and I'm thinking about the judgment on which this land like ushers out as justice. 2 lives are taken, and the third life was, almost taken. And the person is able to get off with no charges whatsoever, which tells me that they're not following the Torah. This land that we live in right now, they do not follow the Torah. They do not care about what the Torah says whatsoever. None. Okay. And because we know that, we have to make a decision. What are we going to do, you guys? Are we going to continue to join up with the people that hate the Holy One of Israel, hate his laws? Or are we going to make a commitment to the Holy One of Israel and what he says? If you notice, every time I get on here and I teach, I always say, what did the Creator say? What has he been saying to us? And why is it so important? Why do we come on Shabbat? Why do we do our teaching? Why are we learning the Hebrew language? Is this all for nothing? Is this all for naught? Or are we waiting for some event to happen? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm waiting for the Creator of the heavens and the earth, number one, to avenge his people. He's going to do that. Number two, I'm waiting for us to be returned back to our own land and to our own soil, where we can build our families and we can build our community, and we could be around people who have the like mind as we do. That's what I'm looking forward to. And I want you to be encouraged. That's what I want. I want you to be encouraged today. There's a reason why you're keeping the Shabbat. A lot of us think we're keeping it because he said, just don't do any work on it, which is true. No work is supposed to be done on the Shabbat. None. There are circumstances in which, because we're in exile, people don't have an opportunity to do otherwise. Like they're forced because they're underneath a different master. And if they don't work, they're not going to have any food to eat. I would advise you that you would look and seek the Holy One of Israel to find a way and talk to him and let him know that my whole intention is not to break your laws and your statutes and your commandments. And if you are working on the Shabbat, you should be grieved because you have to do so. But you do everything possibly you can to let the Holy One of Israel know that your heart is not intended for that. There's an example that we have in the prophets, or in the book of Kings, actually, where there was a prophet that healed a man who came to have his Zazarat, his leprosy, healed. And this guy came, and make a long story short, after he was healed, he wanted to take some dirt with him from Israel and bring it back to the place where he came from, which I believe was Aram in Syria. And he asked the prophet, he said, I don't want to serve other gods. I'm paraphrasing. But when I get there and my master asked me to bow down with him in the temple of his God, and I'm there, I asked that it not be held against me, because he's being forced to have to do that. That was his role. That was his job and his responsibility. So with that being said, Yah knows our intent and he knows our heart. He really, truly does. He knows exactly what our intentions are. He knows what our heart is. Let's take a quick peek right quick at what the Holy One of Israel has said, more specifically about the Shabbat. I'm going to show you a few different things because before we get into our lesson. The first thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to go to, let me see here. Yeah, I could go back there. The first thing I'm going to show you is what the Creator wanted to see about Israel before he even told them that it was a command. Okay. Exodus chapter number 16 says this. This is before Exodus chapter number 20. So it precedes it. Okay. Forgive all the little ads. But here's what it says. They traveled on from Elam. He's talking about the whole house of Israel, the community of the people of Israel. They arrived at the Sin Desert between Elim and Sinai. And it was on the 15th day of the second month after leaving the land of Egypt. There in the desert, the whole community of the people of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aharon. The people of Israel said to them, this is what they said to Moshe and Aharon, we wish Yahweh had used his own hand to kill us off in Egypt. Okay. Now remember, this is 30 days after they just got delivered out of their slavery. We wish that he would use his own hand to kill us off in Egypt. There we used to sit around the pots with meat boiling. We had as much food as we wanted, but you have taken us out into this desert to let this whole assembly starve to death. Yahweh said to Moshe, here, I will cause bread to rain down from heaven for you. The people are to go out and gather a day's ration every day. By this, I will test whether they will observe my Torah or not. As you can see, Yah is going to test and see if Israel is going to observe his instructions or not. Okay. This has nothing. Listen to me. Let me put right here. This has nothing. Where did I just go? This has nothing at this point to do with the judgments of Yah. This has nothing to do with the Moedims of Yah. This has nothing to do with that. What this has to do with is whether or not, and you can see it for yourself. That's why I'm glad that we're on Zoom. So you can see it and make sure that you ask questions, because that's what this is about. It's not just me doing a monologue. I want you to participate and ask questions so everyone can learn something. If you see something in here that you've never seen before, please share it with the class, okay? Yah has said this, and he sent down the bread to rain down from the Shamayim for the people to go out and gather it, a day's ration every day, okay? By this, I will test. I'm going to test them to see whether or not they will do, because that's what observed is, to do my instructions. I want to see if they're going to follow what I said. That's what it is. Torah is instructions. Okay. It's a body of instructions. So what it is Yah will say something and he'll communicate it, and he wants to find out if you and I are going to do it. Okay. We need to know this because from the time of Genesis chapter number 1 all the way until where we are today, we have seen several occasions where we have men and women, okay, kings, leaders, people have been instructed to do something, and then they decide that they're either going to do it or not going to do it. Noah had a choice, and he did what he was commanded. Be prior to any law. Any law. So people are caught up on, we don't have to keep the laws of Yah anymore. They're done away with. But that's not what's in question. I'm praising the Holy One of Israel today because he's going to let us know what it is today. Not that he hasn't, but he's going to reaffirm what he's been saying the whole time. Yahweh will test to see whether they will do my instructions or not. So our test is found in the Torah. That's the test. The test is the Torah. This is what Yah has used to find out whether or not we would do what he says. Whether it's his judgments, which they call mishpatim, whether it's his moedim, which they call the appointed times, were festivals and feasts, whether they're his statutes, his kokim, whether it's his pukudake, which is his offerings that they're supposed to gather for him. Whatever it is, Yah wants to know whether or not we will do what he has said. Okay? Because the Torah is Yahweh's voice. It is. That's what it is. It always has been. But our people, okay, don't listen to the Creator. All right? And it's been clear. We're a group of people that we're going to find every reason why we don't have to or can't do what he says. He says on the 6th day, when they prepare what they have brought in, it will turn out to be twice as much as they gathered on other days. Okay. We're going to establish a few things. We're going to find out how this is all working. Number one, he said on the 6th day, they're going to gather on this day. They're going to prepare what they brought in, and it will be what? Twice as much. Why is this important? Because yesterday, okay, a day, again, it consists of 12 hours, just about, sometimes 11 and 58 minutes, sometimes 11:59, but it's always having to do with sunlight. It has to do with the sun, okay? And I'm going to prove it. So these Ashkenazis and these other religious people told you that the Shabbat starts on Friday evening and is for 24 hours, and it goes from Friday evening until Saturday evening, which says you can't do any work, you can't do this, you got to unplug your refrigerator, you can't plug in a stove, you can't carry this, you can't do this. They tell you all the things you can't do. And that's why they make it distasteful, make it where nobody wants to do it, because it's been unpleasant. It's an unpleasant experience. Yes, Pro 13. KC, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody some time ago about that, about, when the Shabbat starts. He was saying, the same what you just said, it starts Friday evening and all that else. It starts from sunrise, sunset, on Shabbat. It's daylight. I even hit him with the I even went to the New Testament, like I'll hit you with your own material. And it was about when the rich man came to get Christ off the cross. It was saying it was like Friday, it was like evening, it was like the preparation day before the Shabbat, where you came to get Christ off the cross. So I was like, so if Shabbat starts on that Friday evening, he should have been worried about trying to get Christ off that cross then. If that was the case, but it's just little stuff like that.
Yes. Well, praise the Holy One, because here he says that on the 6th day in verse number 5, when they prepare what they have brought in, it will turn out to be twice as much as they gathered on other days. So it would turn out to be twice as much as they gathered on other days. They would have to gather double what they needed for the following day. This wasn't a miracle here in terms of, it turning out to be. No, it will turn out to be as twice as much. It wasn't that it would miraculously turn into double. They had to gather more on the 6th day than they did any other days. Okay. So Moshe and Aharon said to all the people, this evening, pay attention, not this day, this evening. Evening consists of 2 time periods. Okay. Does anybody want to tell me when the first evening is? When's evening?
You call it an Arev? Would you call that?
Yes, it is, Sister Belinda. Thank you. When we talk about Arev, right? Let's look at it right quick. They have a term called twilight. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
And I ain't talking about the movie. Okay, like they want to be. I want you guys to be able to understand what twilight is. Okay. There's a difference between time. Where is it? Oh, here it is. We'll click on this right here. Okay. And I think that would be appropriate. And I'm gonna go right here because that's a better picture. All right. I know you guys can still see my screen, right? All right. So right here, Yah calls the day what? What's the name in Hebrew? Anybody want to tell me?
Or
You're so good. Yes. It's called Yom, but the day is light. Everybody can see that. And the light in Hebrew is called Or. Yah names Or Yom, which is day. Okay. So day is associated with what? Light. Okay. Then we have two times that the sun is going to change. Okay. The sun is going to go down and it's become this part right here from here all the way to this. It's 18 degrees. It's 6 degrees of separation. Okay. Meaning every time the sun begins to go down, it goes down in like in a 6-degree movement, which this part right here is called a rev. Okay. They put a B right there, but it's a rev. And this over here is the same time. There's another evening right here, and that's called a rev. Okay. There's two of them. And then this is called night, which is darkness, which darkness is called Lila. When I say Lila Tov, I say good night. Okay. So Yah calls the night Lila. Okay. Lila. And he calls the day Yom. The sun rules the day, is ruled by the sun. Okay. You understand? So, and is ruled by light. Okay. So Yah create light is not the sun. You understand? I want you to understand something. There is a difference between the sun and light. Listen what I'm about to tell you. Yah created light first. He said, let there be light, and there was light. He created the sun on the 4th day. He created this on the 1st day. Darkness had already existed. You understand? But the whole point is that there's time periods. Okay. This time that you have called Erev is literally a transfer of authority and power. It's because he said, I made two great lights. I made the sun to rule the day, and I made the moon and the stars to rule the night. Okay. So between these two time periods, the sun is in rulership during the day. During the day, the sun is ruling. The sun rules. That's why this is bright. When the sun goes out, it starts transferring its power, and that's called Erev. And it's a mixture. It's a mixture between light and darkness. That's why the sky turns different colors. Okay, so you get all different types of colors, and you say, oh, the sun's going down. Oh, look how pretty that sunset is. Oh, look at the pink and the blue and all these different colors. And you're like, oh, that's so beautiful, right? Well, there's a transfer of power. It's not like a light switch where you turn off and on, and all of a sudden it's light and then it's darkness. No, Yah has made it to where we transition out of time, okay, and rulership. Why is this important? Because people think that a day consists of 24 hours, and they're ignoring this night. They're ignoring the night, which is ruled by the moon, and the day is ruled by the sun. Any questions? But there's two of them. Remember, he said, he says the morning, the evening is called a rev. Evening is called Erev. Okay. That's what evening is called. And there are two of them. The first one it says the evening, which is here, and the morning, because that's morning right here when the sun rose, are the first day. That's the first day. And then the sun goes down, boom. As soon as it hits a rev over here, the day is over. The moment that the sun goes down, is transferring over its authority to the moon. It's no longer, it's like changing guards, like someone comes, my son's into law enforcement, and when he goes to his shift, he doesn't, the people who are there they clock out and they just leave. And then does he come in and clock out and clock in and then he's there? No, they have to go over and exchange and discuss what is it that we saw, and this is what it is. And so power is being transferred. It's not where it's never going to be there. It's blending together. You understand? And this is important for us to understand. It's his people, because you and I are directly connected to the sun, the moon, and the stars. And I'm going to show that to you today, like I've been promising you. All right. Any questions? Because that's what it is. That's what it is. So the Shabbat is from this point. Let me clear everything out so I can clear all the drawings out. The Shabbat begins the moment right here, the moment the sun rises. Boom. The moment you see that light, boom. Once that goes out, Shabbat is ended. So it's from morning until evening. And that is your day. That's what it is. Okay? That's what it is. So the idea of 24 hours is not a Hebrew idea. It's not one of our, it's not a something that our culture understood. That's something from a Western mindset. And they have a reason to do that. Okay. They really do. I don't want to go into why, but because that'll take forever. Because we need to get through this. All right. So verse number 6 says, so he said, this evening. So now you know where evening is. That's a rev. That when the sun went down, you will realize that it has been Yahweh who brought you out of Egypt. This is important to understand because the children of Israel, they never truly accepted the fact that Yahweh is the one who brought them out of the land of Egypt. They never accepted that. Never. Okay. I want you to have a pen and paper. I don't want you to go to this class today without it, because I need to show you something so you can finally get in your mind why Yah keeps saying what he keeps saying about Israel and what it is that they've done.
Dawid,
Okay? Yes.
is that why when the Israelites built the golden calf, that they gave the calf credit for taking them out of Israel? I mean, out of Egypt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
They never believed, and they never listen. I'll take that out of my mind because I don't even like that word, because it's not appropriate for this. Okay. Listen what he says. He says, this evening, on this Arev, you will realize, okay, not believe, realize to mean to know something. It has been Yahweh who brought you out of Egypt. So you're telling me 30 days later, after he brought them out, they still didn't know, even if when he opened the Red Sea, they didn't know after all the plagues, they didn't know after all the signs, they didn't know after all the gold and the silver, they did not know. Are you telling me that? Yes. They didn't want to recognize this. So when someone doesn't want to recognize Yahweh in his power, they look for excuses. And according to this right here, is they need an excuse They're always looking for excuses. That's what people do. When they don't want to turn and change and understand where they are, and they don't want to make any adjustments, they're going to find a reason to do what they want to do. They're going to come up, like I said, they're going to come up with any reason they can not to do what he says. So their excuse there was about food. They've made a accusation against the Holy One and said he should have killed me. I wish he would have killed us with his own hand. But internally, you don't even believe he's the one who brought you out. So how could you say that you wish that? See, they're playing games. They're playing games. And the book that I'm going to bring you to, that I told you to make sure you have a pen and paper to write it down, is Hosea, which means salvation. And I want to go to chapter number 11. This is something the Holy One of Israel showed me that he wanted to reveal to his children, his people. Okay. He says this. Let's just start right. Chapter number 12, forgive me. Chapter number 12, verse number 10, I believe. Here it is, 9. Listen what it says in the book of Hosea, verse number 9. But I am Yahweh, not Adonai. They put that there because they're trying to get you to forget his name. Okay, you look in the Hebrew, it is Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, which is the tetragrammaton. Okay, that's his name. This is not his name. That's not his name. His name is Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. That's his name, Yahweh. But I am Yahweh. That's what he says. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. From where? Where? Somebody tell me. Where's he from? Where does he tell him?
The land of Egypt.
Okay. You might ask yourself, well, why is this important? This is Hosea chapter number 12, verse number 9. But I am Yahweh, your Elohim, from the land of Mizraim. And again, I will make you live in tents as in the days of established festival. I have spoken to the prophets. It was I who gave vision after vision through the prophets. I gave examples to show what it would all be like. You understand? So I've already talked to you guys on numerous occasions. I've already shown you that, but what I wanted to show you is this. I am Yahweh. I am Yahweh. I am Yahweh who brought you out from the land of Mitzrayim. Okay, that's who I am. I'm the one who brought you out from the land of Mitzrayim. Let's go see something else. Chapter number 13. What does it say? Verse number 4 says this. Still, I am Yahweh, your Elohim, from the land of Mizraim. And you don't know any Elohim but me, or other than me, any Savior. I knew you in the desert, in a land of terrible drought. When they were fed, they were satisfied. When satisfied, they became proud, and they forgot me. Therefore, they forgot me. They forgot me. I don't want to go on and tell you where he says, I'm going to kill every last one of them. I don't have to go and say all that. Not right now. All I want you to understand is this today, because this is what he's telling us. I am the one who brought you out. I am Yahweh, your Elohim, your Eloheinu, from the land of Mizraim. So is Yahweh from the land of Mizraim? Somebody explain that to me. It's not a right or wrong answer. Just explain it the best you know how. Why does he keep telling them, I'm the one from Mizraim?
Because that's the place where they were in captivity.
Yes,
He
and it
wants them
is.
to.
Go ahead. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, I just said he wanted them to make sure that they remembered he was the one, no one else.
Yes, I'm the one. And the reason why he's putting it here to Mizraim is because he's letting them know that this place right here was a place of your slavery. And this is a place of your captivity. Okay. This is where it all happened. This is where you got delivered. And this is where you got saved. That's where you got delivered from a place of bondage. I have to keep reminding you this because when you guys came out of Mizraim, you remember when you came out of Mizraim, you didn't realize that it was I'm the one who's been saving you. I'm the one. Okay. So I want you to understand that today. So when he says here, again, we're back in Exodus chapter number 16. He says, where are we at? Seven in the morning. Okay, grumblings against him. Okay, here it is. Moshe and Aharon said to all the people in verse number 6, this evening you will realize that it has been Yahweh who brought you out of the Mitzrayim. Okay. And so Yah is trying to prove to them that he's the one who brought them out. He said in the morning. Okay. So listen. What did it say? It said, this evening you will realize that it was Yahweh who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And in the what? Morning, you will see Yahweh's glory. Yahweh's glory is going to be revealed in the what? In the morning. That's a clue. I'll say it again. In the morning, you will see Yahweh's glory. In the morning. What other time did they see Yahweh's glory? Mount Sinai. Was it in the evening or was it in the morning? Huh?
Was it the morning?
It was in the morning. Moshe told the people of Israel to cleanse yourself because Yahweh is going to come and see you in the what? He's going to come and see you in the morning. When Yahweh reveals his glory to Israel, it's going to be in the morning. It doesn't mean that the morning is not going to turn into darkness. When Yahweh shows his glory, where does he have to do first? Yahweh has to bring darkness in order for the light to come out of the darkness. You understand? This goes to that young lady's dream that she had that she's unaware of. That she says she saw darkness and then she saw the sun, and out of the sun came a fire and just started devouring everything. This is Yahweh's intention. His intention is to come in darkness. You understand? And let's prove it. We're going to keep coming back and forth to this because in it, you can see Yah's giving us clues. I'm not trying to jazz you up and get you to be on some other stuff. I'm trying to show you what his intentions are. Because that's how he's going to do it. He's always going to come in the morning. Because that's how he's always came, in the morning. Let's look at Joel. That means Yahweh is Elohim. And we'll go in chapter number 2. What does it say? Blow the shofar in Zion, sound an alarm on my holy mountain. Let all living in the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh is coming upon us. It's a day of what? Oh, you better hear me. When has the day ever been darkness? He's giving us clues. It's a day of darkness, a day of clouds and thick fog. Great and mighty horde is spreading like blackness over the mountains. Okay. You see that? I know you guys saw it.
Yeah.
Okay. So anytime y'all is talking about coming, it's going to be a day, but it's going to be a day of darkness. Okay. So let's just continue out a little bit further without having, because we only have so much time. Let's read what he says right here in, I think, 30 something. Oh, here it is. I will show wonders in the sky and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke. The sun will be turned into what? The sun represents the day. So the day is going to be turned into darkness. And the moon is going to turn into blood before the coming of the great and terrible day of Yahweh. At that time, whoever calls on the name, which is JSUS, right?
Oh, no.
Hey, no.
Oh, what name does he tell us to call upon? This is the name that you better be calling on right here. It is not Adonai. It ain't Adonai. This name that he's
Yahweh.
talking about is 8,828 times. This is better be the name that you better call on. Whoever calls on this name will be delivered. They will be delivered. You guys, do you see that? Let's just put the pieces together. So we found out the day of Yahweh is the day of darkness. It's a day of gloom. It's a day. Well, Yah is going to use the sun to be the fire, to be the light, because that's what the sun is a big ball of fire that's floating around in the sky right now on this day, called Shabbat. So do you see the connection between the heat of the day and the sun and the Shabbat? If you have respect unto the Shabbat, then you have respect unto Yahweh. But if you don't have respect unto the Shabbat, the day that what he set apart is a set apart day, then Yah is going to destroy you. Okay, let's continue. So we now know in the morning you will see Yahweh's glory, for we're back in Exodus, for he has listened to your grumblings against Yahweh. What are we to say? What are we that you should grumble against? This is what Moshe and Aaron are saying. Moshe added, what I have said will happen when Yahweh gives you meat to eat this evening. And evening again is a rev. So he's saying you're going to see it, but you won't see Yahweh's glory until the morning. And you will have your fill of bread tomorrow morning. Yahweh has listened, because Yahweh hears your complaints and your grumblings against him. The grumblings and complaints, remember, this is about the test of the Torah. Okay? Isn't that where we began our lesson off on? This is a test of the Torah. Yah is testing us to see whether or not we are going to do what he says. And the only thing he's using to find out whether or not we're going to do what he says is the Torah. That's what Yah is using. He's using the Torah. Verse number 4, by this I will test whether or not they will do my Torah, my instructions or not. And the individual that he's chosen to give us the Torah is Moshe. So if you complain against the Torah, against Yahweh's Torah, which is his voice, his instructions, you're complaining against the Holy One, but it's going to be what Moshe told you, because Moshe is the one who's given the instructions of the Torah. Because Israel decided that, remember, Yah talked to Moshe. This is your prophet. It's not Muhammad. It's not JC. It's not Paul. It's not Peter. It's not James. It's not John. It's not John the Apostle. It's not John the Baptist. It's none of those people. It's Moshe. Moshe was not only the prophet of them, but Moshe was the prophet also to Isaiah, which is Yashayahu. He was also a Yeremiyahu. He was Ezekiel, and he was Ezra. They reference what he said. So if you and I reject what he's talking about, then you and I are rejecting what the Holy One of Israel has said. If you and I are complaining about what Moshe has said, you're not complaining against Moshe. You're complaining against the Holy One of Israel. If you complain against the Torah, you're complaining against the Holy One of Israel. But Yah has decided to use the Torah to find out whether or not we would do what he says, because that is the goal. Okay. Now, Aharon spoke to community's people. They looked toward the desert, and there before them, the glory of Yahweh appeared in the cloud. And Yahweh said to Moshe, I have heard the grumblings of the people of Israel. Say to them, at dusk, at Areb, you'll be eating meat. And in the morning, you have your fill of bread. Morning in the meaning that's when the next day is going to begin. Then you will realize that I am Yahweh, your Elohim. So Yahweh doesn't want us to follow him. Listen to me carefully. Yahweh wants us to know that he is our Elohim. And if you're hungry, and this is how it's going to apply to us today. If you're hungry, if you have any kind of trouble, or if you have any stress, or you have anything going on in your life, you need to understand that Yahweh listens and he hears. Okay. So it's not just listening and hearing are two different concepts. Listening to you is intentively paying attention to what one is saying. Hearing means I've given attention to even listen to you. So whenever we say something, we got to be careful because Yah turns his ear to hear what we're saying. He understands, he knows when you and I are complaining against him, or if we're complaining against following what he says and talking about how you can't wait till the Shabbat's over so you can go out and be with your friends. You can't wait till the Shabbat's over, how terrible it is for you because you can't get something done that you need to get done. How terrible it is that you can't go out and buy and sell because it's a Saturday, a day in which everyone gets to do what they do. Yah hears your complaints and your grumblings when you say that, it's too bad I can't go over here because these people are celebrating and getting prepared for that. What are we going to do? We don't have a sanctuary. We don't have this. We don't have that. And so you buckle under pressure and you want to celebrate with people. Hanging out with them is wrong, but yet and still you want to participate. You want to join up with them. You find a way not to, I can't do it Christmas, but I could do it the day after Christmas. You see, because you're still on that. You still find a way that in some kind of way, I'm not going to do it on New Year's Eve, but on New Year's Day, but we could get together to celebrate something other than that on this day. You're still caught up in this captivity, and you still haven't accepted the fact that the people around us, okay, are the enemies of the Holy One of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So this is tough talk, but it's a talk that we need to hear. It's a talk. We need to hear this because you're not going to hear it anywhere else, because no one's going to tell you this because they want your money. They want your time. They want you to give over to them so they could keep telling you the stuff that you like to hear. Israel loves love songs. Israel loves to hear how much Yah loves them and how blessed they are. They don't want to hear about being sad and being grieved and want to go home. And those people don't want to go home to a land. They want to stay right here. This is where they want to do. But listen what Yahweh says in Jeremiah, Yeremiyahu, chapter number 10, one of Rivqua's favorites. That's what it says. Hear the word Yahweh speaks to you, house of Israel. Question is, are you the house of Israel? Yes, you are. Here's what Yahweh says. Don't learn the way of the heathen, the Goyim. I don't know if you know this or not, but the Goyim is everybody outside of Israel. The house of Israel is a house, it's called a family. You're part of a family. This is a family, people. The house of Israel is a family. It consists of 12 tribes. 12 tribes. And we're part of that family. And there's one king over all Israel. And that king is Yahweh. That's who the king is. Yes, he set up kings. Why? Because Israel asked for a king. Because they rejected him in the book of Samuel. They didn't want him to be king. They wanted a king like the rest of the nations. They want to be like the nations. Yah's telling us right now, listen to me carefully. Don't learn the way of the Goyim. But guess what? Is it too late for us? Yes. We have learned the ways of the Goyim. And what we need to do is turn from the ways that we've been taught. Turn from the understanding of what they taught us. Turn from their holidays. Turn from their way of thinking. Turn from the way that they eat, the way that they marriage, the way that they date, the way that they talk, the way they walk, the way they dress, the way they do business. I'm telling you right now, with everything in me, these people can't be trusted. They're not fair. Don't be frightened by astrological signs. Don't start getting caught up in the things that you see in the heavens, like, oh, there's what sign are you? I'm a Gemini. Okay, so that means you're this and this and that. Don't get caught up in saying, well, there's something going on. I think it was a couple of years ago, my son ripped me and his mom on this one. When we were Hebristians, they had a time when they said, oh yeah, we see it in the stars, it's going to be on this day at this time. And we were all petrified thinking, oh yeah, the end of the world is coming. It didn't happen. And that's when it came to me like, wow, Yah really means what he's saying. Don't follow them because they don't know what the H to the E to the double L they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't have any understanding. Astrological meaning of the signs of the heavens. Don't believe anything they're talking about. If you listen to them, you believe a day consists of 24 hours. If you start listening to them, you believe winter. Listen to me. You believe, listen to me, you believe that January the 1st is the new year. If you listen to them, because that's they base that on their signs. Well, somebody tell me, when's Israel's new year? When's our first month of the year? Spring. Not in the dead of winter, springtime, where there's life. In the winter, they have a new year, and winter for them is death. There's death in the winter. Nothing grows. Everything is dead. The leaves are dead. They fall. Everything's down. There's no life. Our month is called the month of Aviv. A-B-I-B. And if you say it in English, it's Aviv. Aviv. It is the first month of spring. This is life. If you listen to the nations and you listen to the Goyim, you will start thinking the first day of the year is in dead of winter. If you listen to the nations, you'll think the Shabbat starts on Friday. If you listen to them, you think that pork is clean because it's been prayed over. You can see a few special words, and Paul and Peter saw a sheet that fell down from heaven and said, everything is clean. If you start listening to what they're talking about, they don't care about keeping the integrity of Yahweh's words. You listen to the Goyim. You listen to these people that call themselves Jews, and they'll turn around and tell you that they can add different things to what Yah said and come up with a whole bunch of other books called the Talmud. You understand? In the Midrash and all this other stuff that they add because they want something to work for them. You understand? They're adding to what he said. Don't follow these people's ways. For the customs of the people are what? They are nothing. They cut down a tree in the forest. A craftsman works on it with his axe. He decks it with silver and gold. What does that sound like?
Christmas.
That's a Christmas tree. You understand? Yah has already told you what they're going to do. And guess what? Everybody in the world does this just about now. I have a friend in Vietnam. She was telling me, yeah, we do Christmas. What? Yeah, we believe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fix it with a hammer and nails so that it won't move. Like a scarecrow in a cucumber patch, it cannot speak. It has been carried because it cannot walk, meaning it's not living. Do not be afraid of it because it could do nothing bad, because they start thinking, well, you know, this means this and this means that, and these are omens, and if you have this in your house, this means this. If you kiss somebody under a mistletoe, then this is what this means. Do you understand? We're not trying to kiss nobody under a mistletoe. This is what Yah's talking about. 6 says, there is no one like you. You are Yahweh. You are great, and your name is great and mighty. Who would not fear you, King of nations? You understand? Yahweh is the King of nations. Now, let's go back and continue in Exodus. I say that because Yahweh, his people are like the Goyim. We're starting to take on their ways. We complain and we grumble. We're in a place right now, we actually deserve to be here right now. Nobody wants to hear that. Yah tells us to loathe yourselves and be upset and cry out to Yahweh. We're not crying out to him. We're talking about how blessed we are because we got a brand new car with a car payment. We got a car that somebody, the first day you get the car, somebody can hit the side of the door and the value of the car went completely down. The moment you drive it off the lot, it has no value. Our value system has changed. We don't value life. We don't value family. We don't value community. We don't value the Torah. Remember, this is about to see whether or not Israel will do what he says. So that evening, verse 13, the quails came up and covered the camp, and while in the morning there was a layer of dew all around the camp. And when the dew had evaporated on the surface, the desert was a fine, flaky substance, as fine as frost on the ground. And when the people saw it, they asked each other, man hu, meaning what is it? The word man means what, and who is it? What is it? Because they didn't know what it was. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it was. But Yah sent it. Moshe answered them, it is the bread which Yahweh has given you to eat. By the way, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Rivqua, you tell me if I'm wrong, it's in the book of Psalm 78, where the Holy One of Israel says that this bread that he gave them was bread from the Shamayim, which Malachim eat. Malachim eat this bread. They eat this bread. The bread that Yah gave to the children of Israel was the same bread that the Malachim eat. They eat. Let's go verify. I said it. I told you I don't do anything without backing up what I said. So I think I'm going to go to 78 or 74. Hopefully I'm correct in 78. Well, let's just begin. Yeah. Spoke. Oh yeah, we should read this. Yeah. Oh yeah, praise the Holy One of Israel. This is a Maskell from Asaph, okay? He says, listen, my people, to my teaching, turn your ears to the words from my mouth. This guy Asaph is from the tribe of Levi. Okay, that's where he's from. And he was no pushover. He's from the family of Lewi. He was a Lewiim. King David set the Leviim in place to proclaim these songs and these poems before the temple on every Shabbat. So this is appropriate. Listen, because remember, Yahweh wants to know if we're going to listen to him. My people, to my teaching, turn your ears to the words from my mouth. I will speak to you in parables and explain mysteries from days of old. So parables did not begin in the New Testament. Parables have always been part, and parables are basically like riddles that he's trying to get us to see something. But it takes a person who really gives ear to something and to listen and hear it, that you can solve it. You can really look at it. So this is a teaching, okay? That's what this is. My skill is a teaching. So in the book of Psalms, they're not just songs and poems, but they're teachings as well. The things in which you have heard and known, which our fathers told us. Verse 4, we will not hide from their descendants. We will tell what? The generation to come, the praises of Yahweh and his strength, the wonders that he has performed. That is a responsibility and a duty of every generation that comes about, is to continue to tell the next generation about what Yahweh has done. Because if you don't tell the next generation about what Yahweh has done, like Yahweh commanded the children of Israel, then your children will forget Yahweh. And they will forget what Yahweh wanted us to know. The only reason why Yahweh has written the Torah and the Mishpatim and the Kukim and the story and the narration for Moses and the book of Genesis and the book of Exodus and the book of Leviticus and Numbers and Deuteronomy and Joshua and all these other books is written, and you and I have a copy of it, is to remind us who Yahweh is. He raised up a testimony in Yaakov. Okay? That's what Yahweh has done. That's the first thing you need to understand. And when it talks about a testimony, you know, when you go to court, someone has to give a testimony. And this testimony here is Yahweh's testimony. It's called an aduth. And it's in a gold box called the Ark of the Covenant. He gave it in Yaakov, and he established a Torah in Israel. Okay? Testimony means that you are a witness to something. Why were they a testimony to the aduth? They were a witness to it because he says, you are my witnesses. They heard and saw Yahweh's fire voice coming out of that fire. And they're supposed to tell their children about this. They are the witnesses, the ones who saw Yahweh come into Mizraim and handle business. They're the ones who heard Moshe teach the Torah to them. They're the ones who saw the Red Sea open. They're the ones who saw the river of the Jordan roll back and they crossed over. They're the ones. When I say that the Red Sea was open, folks, I'm talking about a wall that exceeded 10,000 feet high. They didn't walk across the water like JC in the New Testament or like Peter. Yahweh opened up the Red Sea, was literally over 10,000 feet high. If you go right now to Google and search the depth of the Red Sea, the Reef Sea, the Suf Sea, you'll find out it's ranging from 9,000 up to 10,000 feet deep. And they went across that dry. So there's walls of water that are 10,000 feet high. They went down into the water. They didn't walk across it. They went down. And then they came out through it and up to the other side. But this is something that's supposed to be known to the ancestors, that they're supposed to make known to their children. So the next generation would know it. Even the children not yet born, who would themselves arise and tell their own children, who could then put their confidence, oh, you better hear what I'm telling you, in Elohim, and not forgetting his deeds. You and I cannot forget what Yah has done. I'm the Elohim. I am Yahweh Anoki Yahweh Eloheinu. Hotzi Thika the Miaretz the Mitzrayim. I'm the one who brought you out from the land of Mitzrayim. Don't ever forget what I've done. Obeying his commandments. Don't forget. That's why you're on today on Zoom. That's why you're on during the week. That's why you're studying the Torah. That's why you're keeping the Shabbat, because you're saying, I want to remember the deeds of our Elohim. And if somebody's teaching you and they're not reminding us about what Yahweh has done, you do not want to talk to that person. You don't want them to teach you because that's outside of the guidelines in the pathway in which Yahweh has set for his people. The only way you and I will ever know Yahweh is by his deeds. Oh, you need to hear me today. If he did something for us, you would know it. Ask yourself the question, what has Christ done for me? Ask the Christian. I used to be one. What has he done for you? He forgave me for my sins. He made me right with the Father. He sits at the right hand of God. Meanwhile, my people are being hung, killed, murdered, raped, oppressed, shot down, killed, everything, being despised and hated by everybody. And you're telling me that God did something for me? Oh, he gave his only begotten son to whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Oh boy, what a wonderful promise. How can that even remotely compare to what Yahweh has done? They want you and I to forget Yah. They want us to forget about his name because in his name is power. In his name is mercy and compassion and forgiveness of sins and crimes and transgressions, and yet not exonerating the guilty. Holding everybody responsible for their deeds and actions. But when you go to the New Testament, you can walk away free because you have accepted to have the innocent killed and murdered so you can go free. Does that sound like justice to you? Has that made anybody be held responsible for their behavior? Did it keep my mother and father together? No. Does it cause these men to leave their children? Stop leaving their children? No. How many Christmas trees do you have to sit underneath before you realize that this stuff is all a game? It's to keep you occupied so you won't call on the name of Yahweh. The New Testament has never, not one time, led you back to the Torah of Yahweh. Never. Never revealed his name. His name is not mentioned not one time. Not one time. Not once. Oh, well, his name is Yahushua. His name is Yah salvation. Really? But every prophecy we read, it says in that day, Yehuda will be saved and Israel will live in safety. But yet ain't nobody saved. Guys better wake up and you better listen. Then they would not be like their ancestors in verse number 8. What if we would teach our children a stubborn, rebellious generation, a generation with unprepared hearts, with spirits unfaithful to Yahweh? No fidelity whatsoever. This is a teaching. The people of Ephraim, though armed with bows and arrows, turned their backs on the day of battle. They did not keep their covenant with Elohim and refused. They refused to live by his instructions. They forgot what he done, his wonders, what he's shown to them. Yah's not asking you to follow him blindly. He showed us from time to time to time. He's so wonderful and so precious. He even says you should be able to see me Even in your captivity, you know that I'm the one who's done it. You can't see it, Israel. You can't see that there's no justice in this land. What is it going to take? They forgot what he had done, his wonders which he had shown them. He had done wonderful things in their presence of their ancestors in the land of Egypt, even in the region of Zion. He split the sea and made them pass through. He made the water stand up like a wall 10,000 feet high. He also led them by day. Oh, you better hear him. With a cloud and a long night with the light from a fire. He didn't say, follow me blindly. He gave them signs and wonders. He's the Elohim of wonder. He can wrap himself in a cloud. He can have them be led by fire. How would you like to be in a place with no light, and in the middle when the darkness comes, Yahweh shows up and he leads us through the darkness with fire. He didn't let them wander around in the desert with nothing. He gave them something to look at, which is a cloud. Who does that for somebody? You and I don't even understand what that means. He didn't have them following him blindly. He led them by these elements that he created. It wasn't just some ordinary cloud. It was a cloud that was distinctive from all other clouds. It was a cloud in a desert with no rain. It was a consuming fire, but yet they weren't consumed. He broke apart the rocks in the desert so they can have water to drink as if it was from boundless depths, because he made the water. He knew exactly where it was because he's the one who made it. Yes. He brought streams out of the rock, making the water flow down like rivers. Oh, that was a miracle. No, it's not a miracle. It's one of Yah's signs. He's the one who made the water. He's the one who made the rock. He's the one who made the streams. He knows how it all works. It's not a miracle to him. That's nothing to him. But it should be everything to us. Yet they sin still more and more against him, rebelling in the wilderness against the Most High. In their hearts, they tested demanding food that would satisfy their cravings. And look what they said. Yes, they spoke against Elohim by asking, can Elohim spread a table in the desert? Oh, if he's really God, he's really powerful, then can he do this? Can he do this? If you really are, do this for me. If you really are, then do this for us. If you are, then why you didn't kill us? Do this. If you really are God, then give me the wife that I asked you for. If you really are God, then do this for me. If you really are, then deliver me from this. If you really are, then heal me. If you really are who you say you are, then do this. What an arrogant people. True. He struck the rock. The water gushed out until the vatties overflowed. Well, what about bread? Look what they said. Yeah, he struck the rock. Yeah, water gushed out. Yeah, there's a river. Yeah, so what? What about bread? Can he give that? Can he provide meat for his people? If we're really his people, can he really do that? And that's what we're seeing in Exodus chapter number 16. Therefore, when Yahweh heard, he was angry. Fire blazed up against Yaakov. His anger mounted against Israel because they had no faith, no emunah, no support. no trust in his power to deliver them. He's done everything else that he's done, but they said he can't do it. He commanded the skies above and opened the doors of heaven. And what did he rain? He rained down man. They got man here. And if anybody would like that, oh, that's Jesus. That's JC. That's the Christ. No, it's not. It's man. And man is called from mana, meaning what is it? He did man. And man is what? And then remember, they said they didn't know what it was. What is it? What is it? Man shall not live by mana, man alone. About what? But every word that proceeds out the mouth of Elohim. What they're trying to get you to understand is man shall not live on food, but he has to live off of what comes out of Yah's mouth, which is Yahweh's words. That's what Yah's talking about. Yah's words is Yah's voice. Yah's words came out of the fire. Yah's words is what's going to give us life. If Yah knows that water's inside of a rock and he can hit it and a river will come out, you're telling me he doesn't know what we need to survive and to live and to have life? He's designed his Torah so you and I would always have food. The man is the instructions. Remember what he said. I am going to test Israel to find out if they will listen to my Torah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of telling them my words all the time, I'm going to put the bread up, the manna to come down, and I'm going to let it come down and see if they would pick it up every day. I'm going to see it. 24, he rained down manahu on them as food. He gave them grain from heaven. Mortals ate the bread of Malachim. That's what they ate. They ate bread of the Malachim from the Shamayim. And he provided them to the full. That's what he did. That's what he did. He gave us bread that he gave to the Malachim, the individuals that are in his presence. He fed us what their bread. Do you know how special you are? Do you know do you know the DNA structure of that bread that went into our people that ate it? Which is equivalent to the Torah. Let me show it to you, since you think that David might be making it up. I'm not making it up. I'm telling you what I know. I'm not telling you what I believe. I don't have to believe anything. I know that this is true. And you have to know it for yourself. Why? Listen to this. Therefore, you are to love Yahweh. Listen. This is Moshe talking to the children of Israel, the sons and daughters of Israel, and all those who join themselves to them. You are to love Yahweh, your Elohim, and always obey his commission, regulations, rulings, and commandments. Today, it is you I'm addressing and not your children. Why? Why? Who haven't known or experienced the discipline of Yahweh, your Elohim, his greatness, his strong hand, his outstretched arm, his signs, his actions, which he did in Mitzrayim to the king of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and to his entire country. Because I told you, the only way that you and I will ever know Yah, and only way that you and I will ever come to experience Yah, is when you are going to see what Yahweh does in his greatness and his strong hand and his stretched out arm and all of his actions. That's what you and I are waiting on. They didn't experience what he did to Egypt's army, his horses, his chariots, and how Yahweh overwhelmed them in the water, the Sea of Suf, as they were pursuing you. So they remain destroyed unto this day. They didn't experience what he kept doing for you in the desert until you arrived at this place. No. Or what he did to Dathan and Abiram. No. The sons of Eliab, the descendants of Reuben, and how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, along with their households, their tents, and everything living in their company there in front of all Israel. But you have seen with your own eyes all these great deeds of Yahweh. Therefore, you are to keep every commandment I am giving you today, so that you will be strong enough to go in and take possession of the land you're crossing to conquer. Well, what has this got to do with us? Because you just read to us that he wasn't talking to the people that didn't see it. Well, it's written for a reason, and he's going to explain it to you right now. So that you would live long in the land Yahweh swore to give to your ancestors and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. The stage is being set for them to go into the land. This was not written for them. You're not writing a book for the people that are going in the land. You're writing it for their descendants after them so they can tell them all these great things. So that why he's addressing them is because that day they were on their way to that land. And Yah is telling us, if you want to go to the land, understand that number one, you have to see something. You're going to have an experience with me before you go into my land. You're going to experience something, Israel, before you go into that land. I'm going to judge you face to face like I did your ancestors before you go into the land. You're going to see my mighty power, stretched out arm, and poured out fury. Then the nations will know that I am Yahweh when they see me display my honor and my glory in you. Moshe is prepping them to go on the land. Moshe today is prepping Israel before they go into the land. Why? Because it is a land that Yahweh, your Elohim, cares for. The eyes of Yahweh are on it, always on it, from the beginning of the year until the end of the year. So if you listen and you pay careful attention to the commandments in which I'm giving you today, to love Yahweh, that's number one. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Eka, U'ahavatay et Yahweh Eloheka, v'kol levaveka, v'kol nafeshka, v'kol meodeka, U'ahavaka l'reaka komoka. Listen, Israel, Shema, Yahweh Elohim is one. He's our Elohim. He's Akkad, he's one. And you are to love Yahweh with all of your heart, all your being, and all your strength, your soul. Love Yahweh, your Elohim. And what? And serve him with all. Kol levavika, kol nafeshka, v'kol meodeka. Then Yahweh says, I will give you this land, give your land its rain at the right seasons, including every fall rains, the late spring rains, so that you can gather in your wheat, your new wine, and your olive oil. That's what I want to give you. Do you want it? Everything that we're talking about today is about the land and our relationship with the Creator, and we cannot go back to this land. We cannot inherit what our ancestors were promised until you and I decide to teach our children the ways of Yahweh. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Yahweh told our father, Abraham, the one who's been exalted and lifted up in chapter number 18 in the book of Genesis. Yahweh said, should I hide from Abraham what I intend on about to do? Inasmuch Abraham is sure to become a great and strong nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by him. for I have made myself known to him, so that he would give orders to his children and to his household after him to keep and guard the way of Yahweh and to do what is right and just, so that Yahweh may bring about for Abraham what he has promised him. If you and I are not teaching our children and ourselves to guard the way of Yahweh, then Yah will not bring about the promise. This is about a good promise. This ain't just no ordinary promise. This is about a good, healthy promise that you and I can hold on to. It's from the very mouth of the Creator himself, which he said that he would do for Israel. Listen to this. The word of Yahweh came to Yirmiyahu a second time while he was still in prison in the guard quarters, because he suffered, because he was telling the children of Judah that guess what? You guys don't get your act together, Yah's going to burn down this place. They didn't like what he was saying. Thus saith Yahweh the maker, Yahweh who formed what? The universe. As to keeping, directing it, Yahweh is his name. Why is he telling us that's what his name is? Because in his name is mercy, compassion, love, and forgiveness of crimes and sins, and yet I won't exonerate the guilty, and I'll hold everybody responsible for their actions. Call out to me, and I will answer you. I will tell you great things, hidden things, which you are unaware. For here is what Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, says. Not the Elohim of the United States of America, not the Elohim of Russia, not the Elohim of any other people on the face of this earth except for Israel. He's the only one that he knows. Concerning the house and the city and the palaces of the king Yehuda, which are about to be destroyed and used as the siege works and ramparts, where they will come to fight the Casdim. So he goes on and tell them about what he's going to do to them. Well, let me continue to tell you what he says in verse number 7. Because remember, he's telling them, I'm about to destroy Judah, because Israel has already been destroyed in 722 BC. This is when they were afraid of Nebuchadnezzar, who came in from Babylon. But listen what he says in verse number 7. He says, I will cause the captives of Yehuda and the captives of Israel to return. Not just one house. Judah did return later on, 70 years later. 70, they got out of their captivity of Babylon. Then they went in, and then, Koresh, the Medes and the Persians were over them. Then they went from them, and then they went to the Greeks, and then they went from the Greeks, and then they went to the Romans. Okay, so we know that the captives of Yehuda and the captives of Israel have never been returned yet together. And he said, I will build them up as I did at first. The first time he ever built this up. And he says, I'm going to cleanse them from all their sins. Oh, yeah? Yeah, I'm going to cleanse them from all their sins. When what? When I cause the captives to come back. Your sin is on you. We're not cleansed, but I will cleanse them. So looking forward to the cleansing is what's something we need to understand. But if you know that he said, I will cleanse them from all their sins. When what? When I cause their captives to return. The shuv, S-H-U-V. In English, shuv means to return. I mean, to go back. So you were going this direction. Shuv means to turn back and go back the other way. Shuv also is the word they do use for captives, because captives are turned away from their land to go to another land. And then once they go to that land, they come back to their land again. That's what shuv is. It means to return. So I'm going to cleanse them from all their sins. And their sins is calling on the name of other gods. Their sins is wearing clothes they didn't supposed to. Their sins are marrying people you didn't supposed to. The sins are calling upon the name of a whole bunch of other gods sitting on their Christmas trees that you did, that you never got cleansed from. You never got cleansed from the Easter bunny. You never fully got cleansed from transgressing me by eating the foods that you ate. You never fully got cleansed from not bringing me the things that I told you to bring. You never got cleansed from any of those things. Never. Through which they offended me. See, because that's what sin is. It's a transgression. It's an offense to him. How have we offended Yah? We've offended him by our actions, our deeds, and our manner of life. The words that have come out of our mouths. He says, never let a name of another Elohim ever come past your lips. We've called on the name of Elohims. Therefore, we are offensive. We've been offensive to the Holy One. He said, I will pardon all their sins. Do you see anything about the death of the innocent? No. Put everything in context. When I bring them out of their captivity, then I'll pardon all their sins, through which they've offended and rebelled against me. You understand? So right now, understand who you are, and you are in sin, and you are unclean, and you have not been cleansed by the Holy One of Israel. And if you have said that you do have his spirit, you're a liar. You're lying. And I'll tell any rabbi that. I'll tell any pastor that. I tell people this all the time. Then the name of this city will bring me joy and praise and glory before all the nations of the earth. They hear about all the good that I'm doing for them. They will be overcome with fear and trembling. Who? The nations. At all the good and peace I'm securing for it. For what? The city. Here's what Yahweh says. You say that this place is a wasteland. Well, neither people nor animals in the city of Yehuda and the streets of Jerusalem or Yerushalayim are desolate without people or animals, no inhabitants. Yet there will again be heard here the sound of joy and gladness, and the voices of bridegroom and bride, and the voices of those who sing. Give thanks to Yahweh Zavaoth, for Yahweh is good and his grace continues forever. This is what they're going to sing. Is that what they're singing in Jerusalem today? Is that what they're saying today? No, they don't even call him by his name. They say Hashem. Hashem. They didn't say that. It said they're going to give thanks to Yahweh Zavaoth. They're going to call out to Yahweh. That's what they're going to say. His grace continues forever. Why? Because he has shown mercy to us. Not only to the Jewish people, but to all Yisrael. The house of Yehuda and the house of Yisrael. They're going to be combined together. I'm going to bring them from their captivity. And listen, and they will bring offerings of thanksgiving into the house of Yahweh. Is there a house of Yahweh right now? In that so-called place called Jerusalem? No. Are they bringing offerings into thanksgiving into his house of Yahweh? No. For I will cause those captured from the land to return as before, says Yahweh. Do you believe it? Or are you worried about what's going on here and your life is being flipped upside down because you either have to take the jab or you lose your job? Yahweh Zavaoth says, in this place, which is a wasteland without people, without animals, in all of its cities, there once again will be pasture lands where shepherds can let their flocks rest. And then he goes on and he continues to talk about it, about the flocks. 14, the days are coming. The days are coming. And this, when he says here, Yahweh, the days are coming, this is what they would call in the Hebrew a na'um. A na'um is a declaration. It is a proclamation and a declaration like, hey, I'm going to say something and I'm going to make sure that it's going to happen. I got to say it in front of all the world. And I'm saying it in the heavens and I'm saying it in front of the earth. And this is something I'm going to keep my word on. When I will fulfill this good promise, because there's a good promise that I made for the children of Israel, which I proclaim for the house of Israel and for the house of Yehuda. There's a great promise. It's a good promise. Okay. When those days come, and he's talking about when they come out of their captivity, because it's the only way that it can happen. When those days come, at that time, because it's those days. So let's see if anybody else fits this description. Let's see if anything that he says has happened. He says a good promise. When those days come, at that time, I will cause to spring up for David a branch of righteousness. And again, A lot of people like to say, oh, this is the Christ in the New Testament because this is a capital B and this is a capital R, and these are titles, and we know that, that a branch, and they saying this is a person. But it's a mock of righteousness. That's what it is, a sprout. It's not a branch, it's a sprout. He says, I'm gonna let this sprout out for David. Of a sprout, which is something that comes from David's line, a family, a son, okay? A son. He will do this in particular sprout, this branch, okay? They call it branch, but it's called a zamach. A zamach, which is a sprout, he will do what is just, which is righteousness, and right in the land. That's what he's going to do. And he's not going to do it for 33 years. He's not going to do it until he starts his ministry for 3 years. He started at 33 years old, and then he died, or he started at 30 and then he died at 33. So he only did that for 3 years, correct? No, it's not going to happen like that. So he's telling us right now that this individual, okay, when those days come, Yehuda will be saved, because Yahweh is doing something for the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda. The two houses. I'm going to say it again, the house of Israel, which consists of the 10 tribes, okay, and the other is the house of Yehuda, which are the 2 tribes, was Yehuda and Benjamin. You said, well, where's Levi? Levi's not counted among them because he's separated unto the Holy One of Israel, okay? So he says, when those days come, at that time, I will cause to spring up for David a zamach of Zedekiah, or righteousness. This individual, because he's a man will do what is just and right in the land. That's what he's going to do. When those days come, Yehuda will be saved. That means they will be delivered. Okay? Yehuda will be delivered. And Yerushalayim will live in safety. Question: when this so-called person named JC, when he came, was the Yehuda delivered, and was Jerusalem lived in safety? Or were they occupied by the Romans?
Occupied by the Romans.
They're occupied. They never had safety. Never. So safety here, that's what means to be saved. Salvation and deliverance has to do with living in safety. And so our idea of safety for us has been, well, it's just be safe. Well, no, that is connected. Salvation for Israel is safety and rest and peace. And so, and the name given to her, who the land will be called Yahweh Zakenu. Was the land ever called Yahweh Zakenu, which means Yahweh is our righteousness? Has that ever happened? No. So Yahweh is right here, not Adonai. And then Zadik right here is righteous, and Nu is us, or our. So that's where it is our, which is Nu, and then Zedek is righteous, our righteousness, Yahweh Zakenu. The land has never been called Yahweh Zakenu, has it? Has it been called that? Even to this day? No. So did it happen? No. You can't apply a prophecy to something to someone that has never happened yet. For this is what Yahweh says. Because remember, it's about what Yahweh says. It's always about what Yahweh says. There will never be cut off from David a man. Well, I thought you said that the JC was God manifested in the flesh, like a lot of your Christians say. No, it's a man. Okay, and it's not JC. It's one of David's sons. There's an individual that's among Israel, okay, which David is going to have a son through his line to occupy the throne of the house of Israel, not the house of Yehuda, the house of Israel. That means all 12 tribes, because that is the good promise. Nor will there ever be cut off from the Kohanim. So we're not just talking about David. We're not only talking about kingship, but you're also talking about the Leviim, a Kohanim. You're always talking about a priest. So they say that the priesthood will be Melchizedek. No, it's from the Kohanim of Leviim. They will never, ever be cut off. A man who's a priest from this family. You guys see that? They'll never be cut off from David's house. They'll never be cut off from Levi's house, a man. Okay? To offer me burnt offerings and grain offerings and offers other sacrifices every day. So the idea that sacrifice is done away with is a lie. We just don't have it right now. Yahweh is going to reinstate this. Okay? Well, there's the temple in heaven. Okay, whatever. Verse number 19. This word came to Yeremiah, and it is from Yahweh. And he says, here's what Yahweh says. And this is what I wanted to initially talk to us about, which we're going to close out with this. Here's what Yahweh says. If you can break my covenant, okay, my agreement, okay, with the day and my covenant with the night. As again, we know that the day is called Yom. And we know the Yom has to do with Or, and Or is light. Okay. Then, or you could break up my, I don't like that color. Forgive me. I should have got a different color. This is not a good color to have. All right. So day is Yom and Yom is light. Okay. And it's a berith. Okay. This is a covenant, agreement, contract. There's another contract. Okay. And he says, my contract. So Yah has a contract with the day, which is the light, which is Or. Yahweh has a contract with the Lila. He has a contract with Lila, which is the night, which is darkness. Yah has a contract with them. So when Yah created the heavens and the earth, and he said on the first day, let there be light, that was when Yah made his contract on the first day. Okay. So he's letting us know. Okay. And the contract that he made with night was that I'm going to set a difference between you'll exist, but you will be ruled and controlled by the moon. I will divide the light from the darkness. Okay. So he's saying, if you could break, if they can break these covenants, if they can break this, if you, and who's he talking to? He's saying, if you. He's talking to who? He's talking to the individuals that are listening, and he's talking to the nations, because the nations are the ones, and also to the wicked people among Israel who want to break this covenant. Because the people that are wicked that are among his people are trying to get you and I away from him by saying, you guys, you got to understand there's wicked men and women in Israel that are always trying to move people away from Yahweh to move them to somewhere else. So if you could break this covenant that I have with the day and the covenant I made with the night, so that the daytime, now there's again to show you the connection between the day, and that's the daytime, and the nighttime. There's a clear, distinct difference. So now is the day 24 hours? No. So you see it again. No longer, they would no longer come when they are supposed to. So they're under contract. The day and the night are under contract to come when they're supposed to. Okay, they've been given instructions to do so. Then he says, then my covenant with David, my servant David, can also be broken. So the covenant that is with the day and the covenant that's with the night is connected to the covenant that Yah made with David. Yah made a covenant with David. Yahweh made a covenant with David. Yahweh made a covenant with the day. Yahweh made a covenant with the night. Yahweh made a covenant with Noah. Yahweh made a covenant with Abraham. Yahweh made a covenant with the house of Israel. Yahweh made a covenant with Aaron and his sons. Yahweh made a covenant with Pinchas. Yahweh made a covenant with David. So the covenant that he made with David is connected to the covenant that he made with the night and the covenant that he made with the day. So when Yah made his covenant, my covenant again, you see my covenant. So David is connected to the day and David is connected to the night. So also can be broken. So he's making an equivalent between these two. They're equivalent, so that he will not have a descendant to reign from his throne, or a Leviim or Kohanim to minister to me. Okay. You see? So they're connected. Now, let's continue. 22 says that to the degree that the armies of heaven are the stars and the planets, everything, the host of heaven, not just the sun and the moon and the stars, but everything in the galaxy, everything in the universe. If you could count everything that's in the universe, then Yah says, if you can count that, and you can count the sand on the sea, and they're past measuring. So the heavens and the bodies and the armies of heaven are past counting. You can never count what Yah's done. You can never count Yahweh's sand. You can never measure Yahweh's sand. You can never measure anything. Yah's saying you can't measure anything in the heavens, you can't measure anything in the earth. And that's what I have attached to the descendants of my servant David and the Lavaim. Okay. So also too, you know that he told Abraham that Abraham's descendants will be as numerous as the sand on the sea. He also told Abraham that your descendants will be as numerous as the stars. So Yahweh is reaffirming something for us to always remember, that David is always going to have descendants. And so is the family of Lavaim to serve Yahweh, ministering to him, be a servant to him. So you and I cannot come along later, or any person in the Greeks or whatever writings they want to say, and say that Yahweh says that I'm going to get rid of descendants and I'm just going to go to one descendant and call it one person, and he's forever, and his name is JC. Or his name, if he black, his name is Yeshua. You understand? So Yah's telling us that Israel, just like the stars and the sand of the sea, will always continue. So is the descendants of my servant David and the priesthood. They're always going to serve me. This word of Yahweh came to Yeremiah, and the question was this. Yah asked, he said, haven't you noticed in verse 24 that these people, these people are saying Yahweh has rejected the two families he chose? Really? What two families has Yah chose? Somebody tell me. Who are the two families that Yahweh chose?
I mean, Israel and Judah.
Good. You're good. Awesome there. But in context, Yah's talking about the family of David and the family of the Leviim. Because they're saying, because if you could get rid of David, you get rid of the kingship. If you get rid of Lewi, you get rid of the priesthood. And then you'll be able to establish a new king and a new priesthood, because that's what the goal is. The goal is to forget about Yahweh and to forget about his covenants and to forget about everything he told them. That's the goal. That's what everybody wants to do. They want us to, they're saying that Yahweh has forgotten about these people, that he rejected them. And the reason why they're saying this, Aki, KC, is because when Yahweh destroyed, because in context, Yahweh is going to destroy, it has destroyed Jerusalem. And when Jerusalem, they had a descendant of David that was sitting on the throne. And then they also had the priesthood, which was the Kohanim. So what the people are saying now is Yahweh has rejected these two families now that he chose. Hence, they despise my people. The priesthood and the kingship of David and the Leviim is not for the sake of David and the priesthood and the Leviim. The reason why Yah chose David and chose the priesthood is for the people. A people who are despised and a people that are hated. And to be despised in Hebrew is called bazah. And bazah means to lose value. It means to be spoiled. When your food, sorry for the writing, when your food loses its value, it begins, they call it to be what? It's spoiled. When a person goes and they take everything out of your house and they rob you, they spoil you. They take all your spoils, all that which is valuable to you. So it goes both ways. You can have something of value. As soon as they take it away from you, you're spoiled. Israel today is spoiled because Israel doesn't have a king and we don't have a priest. We don't have a priesthood. We don't have any leadership. We don't have any authority. We don't have any leadership in our family. Yah chose David and his family and Leviim and their family to be the leadership and the foundation, because that's what a priest means. A foundation is a kohanim. That's what a Leviim is a kohanim. The actual name Kohen means to be a foundation. That's what it means. It's a foundation that you build upon. So without no leadership and without the Leviim, you can't build a community. That's why Yah had the Leviim in all the different communities, because they were there to make judgment calls. They were there to make sure that people understood what was clean, what was unclean. They were there to argue or to listen to arguments between the people and make decisions. And that's why Yah said, if the Leviim gave a decision, you turn around and you went against the decision, then whatever, I'm going to kill you, because his decision is not his. His decision is my decision. That's what I wanted him to say. And that's the reason why Israel is out of the land today, is simply because what happened is the priesthood and the kingship got corrupted. The leadership and the foundation of our people have gotten corrupted. Okay, so when the leadership goes, everything goes. When the head of the people goes and the rulers go, because they were rulers, then everything goes. So Yah says the whole head is sick. The head is the rulers. When he said the whole head is sick in Isaiah chapter number 1, he said the whole head is sick. That means the leaders of the people are sick. They were taking bribes, they were killing people, they were shedding innocent blood. So Yah is saying, if the leadership goes, then everything goes. If the kings are corrupt, then my people are going to be corrupt. Rivka asked me today, she said, well, what's the difference? Why do we need a king if Yahweh is our king? And I simply told her, because Yahweh says that no man can ever see him face to face and live. So Yah created and wanted a office of a king on the earth, right? And when Israel said he wanted a king, he's like, okay, well, they rejected me as their king, but Yah has a king in store for them, which is David, because the kings and the rulers are supposed to walk among the people. And this is the way that Yah will be able to walk among us, is through our kings and through our rulers. Yah is able to teach us through our Kohanim. Yah and a lot of times we think, oh, they're just being religious and they're telling these are rituals. No, they're going to show us how to live. They're going to show us how to bathe. They're going to show us how to eat. They're going to show us how to discipline. They're going to show us how to judge. They're going to show us how to do all these different types of things. Okay. And even when we get back to the land, Yah's going to establish a priesthood. Even though he's going to write the Torah down in our minds and our hearts and put it in the midst of us, he still wants us to have a priesthood to bring offerings and sacrifices to him, and also to continue to teach Israel the difference between that which is clean and that which is unclean. Because there's laws that have to do with the priesthood that don't have anything to do with Israel. That's where you have to make your distinctions between the offices. Yah has chosen the Leviim to be his servants, to be close to him. You and I can never draw close to Yahweh like them. Otherwise, we'd be put to death. That's why I don't understand why these people go around here saying they're Leviim or they're priest. And they haven't been registered. They haven't been anything. They haven't been installed. They haven't been inaugurated, nothing. But they say they're his priest. Well, we're going to find out when they get there to see if they're the priest. Okay? Because people play games. So here it is. Yah's letting us know that I have a leadership and I have a promise that I promised Israel, because my people are despised because they don't have any leadership. My people don't have any value in the eyes of anyone because they have no one to guide them. I know all of you want to be close to the Holy One of Israel, as I do, but Yah says, none of you guys are going to get close to me like that, because I'm not a human being. I'm not a human being. I am not a human being, but I chose to lead you through human means. I'll allow a prophet to come. I'll use Moshe. I'll use Aharon. I'll use their family. I'll pick David's family, because I want to give you guys a good promise. So they're asking that said that Yah's gotten rid of his people, these two families. These two families is the foundation for the people of Israel. And because there is no two families, they're no longer look at them as a nation. So I know you, Akoti Pam, have always asked the question, well, you said the other day that, oh, I can see how they want the priesthood. If you don't have the priesthood, you don't have a nation. And here it is right here. That's what I wanted to show you. That if you don't have the priesthood and you don't have the kingship, you have no leadership, you don't have a nation. So our nation is not established without a king and without a priesthood. There's no way. So right now we are not being looked at as a nation. We have no authority. We have no power, because all the power is going to be ran through the king, because he's the one who's going to make the decisions for the nation. And he's the one who's going to walk among the people to turn the people's head back to Yahweh and always make sure they're turned towards Yahweh. So here is what Yahweh says. If I have not established, see, because it's about establishing my covenant with the day and night and fix the laws, which these laws right here are not Torah. Okay, they're called Kok or Kukat. Okay, Kukat, and they're called a statute for the sky and the earth. That means that they're going to do what they're told. They go at their appointed times. It's inscribed, and that means it will never change. So what I'm trying to get you to understand is that he says in 26, then I will also reject the descendants of Yaakov and my servant David. See, the descendants of Yaakov, which means all 12 tribes. You understand? If I get rid of them, then there won't be a day, and there won't be a night, and there won't be a sky, and there won't be an earth. So reverse engineering this, you can see that why the earth and the sky and everything was created. So when you look at the sky today, and you look at the sun, and you look at the moon, and you look at the night, and you look at the day, and you enjoy it, and you see everything in the clouds, you need to remember that Yah made that for you, to remind you that you will always be a descendant of Yaakov, and you will always continue. You will always. And Yah is saying that if you guys get rid of those things, then I will reject the descendants of Yaakov and David and my servant David, not choosing from his descendants, because Yah is going to choose from his descendants, not descendant people, not one person, people to rule over the descendants of Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. That's why I chose David's family. You and I are directly connected to this family. And because of this, that is your eternal life. You will then be able to always have descendants. And Yah is saying, just as if the earth and the sky and the soil and then the sand is here, and there's always stars and they can't be counted, Yah is telling you, if you try to count how many people I'm going to that's in the family of the descendants of Israel, that means that you have understood everything that I've made. Everything in creation is predicated upon the descendants of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. As long as there's a star in the sky, then there will always be the family of Israel. As long as there is breath on the face of this earth, there's going to be Israel. As long as there's seasons of summer, winter, fall, and spring, there's always going to be Israel. Israel is forever. You're eternal. And for you to say, well, I don't want to die, means that you don't understand the process of life. Death is part of life. And Christianity has told us that Adam and Kua didn't die until they ate of that tree, which is incorrect. In the Hebrew, it tells you that they were going to die anyway. They were destined to die. They just died a different type of death. They died earlier. They didn't have real life. Life is joy. Life is happiness. Life is cleansiness. Life is being able to have a relationship with the Creator. Life is being heard when you cry out. Life is being able to get an answer from the Holy One of Israel. And Yah's desire is to have that relationship with humanity, not just with Israel. Listen, I want to be clear. Yah's intention is to have a relationship with everything that he's made. And that relationship has been thwarted and has been stopped and has been paused because Israel has not done what they're supposed to have done. Israel is the reason why humanity is in the situation that they're in right now, because we broke faith with Yahweh. If you want to be mad and you want to be angry, you want to be pissed off about what's happened to our people, blame yourselves and blame your ancestors, because that's who gets the blame. You want to be mad because Yahweh delivered you up to a people that will rape you and rape your little girls and hang them and feed them to alligators, then don't be mad at those people. They're just being used to do what they were supposed to be doing anyway. That's who they are. And the reason why they are who they are is simply because if we were doing our job, either they would follow what Yahweh says or they'll be put to death. And that's just the bottom line. Okay. Israel is responsible for reuniting the people of the world back to Yah. And if it was not true, then Yah says that I've made you to be a light to the nations. That's my intention. I've caused you to be a salvation for the whole entire world. But if you don't do what I'm telling you, I'm gonna put your light out. Your light, I'm gonna take light away from you because you don't want to be light. So if you don't want to be the light, just let me know and I'll snuff you out, because there is no room for wickedness any longer. That's why the punishment was so bad. It's because Yahweh says that he wants Israel to stand up and to be a light to the nations. Listen what he says. Listen what he says. Where am I at? Can I spread to the heavens and there stretch out? There was not. Oh, okay, here it is. Praise the Holy One of Israel. Yahweh, so Yahweh says, remember, it's always what he says. He formed me in the womb to be his servant. Yes, that's number one. To bring Yaakov back to him. That's the second thing what Yahweh says. The third Yahweh says to have Israel gathered to him, so that I, Israel, will be honored in the sight of Yahweh, my Elohim, having become my strength. Israel's weak right now, and Yah has to become our strength. He said, is it not enough that you are merely my servant? Right? It's not enough for me to do that and raise up the tribes of Yaakov and restore the offspring of Israel, but I will also make Israel, you, a light to the nations, so my salvation can spread to the ends of the earth. Here is what Yahweh, the Redeemer of Israel, says. The Redeemer is called a Go'al, okay? And let me write it out right here for you so you can know. A Go'al, a G-A-A-L, okay? Or sometimes they call it a Goel, okay? A Goel means a redeemer. A redeemer is an avenger. It means someone who comes an avenger and someone who comes and buys back, okay? They pay people back for what they've done to you, and they also buy you back from what your situation is. They redeem your land, they can redeem you, they can do whatever they want to. They're like a kinsman, they're a relative. So what Yah's letting us know is that I am the Redeemer of Israel. That's what his name is. Yahweh is the Redeemer, not Yeshua. And his Holy One. Yahweh is our Holy One. And he says to the one who is despised, the one who's hated, the one who's devalued, the ones whom the nations detest, the nations hate you, and you know it, to the servant of tyrants. That's what you're a servant to right now. When kings see you, okay, they will stand up, and princes too will prostrate themselves, because Yahweh, who is faithful, the Holy One of Israel. Yahweh is the faithful one. Yahweh is the Holy One of Israel. No one else has chosen you. And at that time, when I choose, I will answer you on the day of salvation. I will help you. There's a day of salvation. And so let me ask you a question in closing. Let me ask you a question. He says, on the day of salvation, I will help you. On the day of salvation, I will help you. They said the day of salvation, you know, when I was a Christian, I called out and I didn't get any help. I felt good emotionally. Then I went back to the same sins I did before and kept crying every Sunday and every time I went to church. When Christ died on the cross, allegedly, did Yahweh help us? Did he preserve us? And when he died on the cross, so allegedly died on the cross, was any of us preserved, or were we sent off into slavery? I mean, and at that point, did he appoint us to be a covenant for the people when we got saved? Because he's talking about the day of salvation. So let me be clear with you. The day of salvation is the day when Yahweh comes to save us from our enemies, just like he did in Egypt. That's the day of salvation. The day of salvation is the day in which I've already described to you, that told you that Yah says, I'm coming on a day. And the day that I'm going to come is your day of your salvation, because I'm going to deliver you out from that day. Because you need to be saved on this day. Because if you're not saved on this day, then you're dead. But I'm not going to let that happen to you. Because I already told you, remember, a day of salvation. Remember that, day of salvation. If you are saved on that day, then why are you still scattered? So here's the day he says, when I feel like saving you, that's when I'm going to do it. These are the words of Yahweh spoke concerning Israel and Yehuda. Here's what Yahweh says. We heard a cry of terror, of fear, and not peace. And now see, can men give birth to children? So why do not see all men with their hands on their stomachs like women in labor, with every face turned pale? Oh, how dreadful will that day be? There has never been one like it, a time of trouble for Yaakov, but out of it he will be saved. You understand? So your day of salvation is going to be on this dreadful day. That's where you're going to be saved. And Yaakov is going to be saved from that day. You understand? That's the day you're talking about. Okay? That's the day. A time of trouble. And on that day, I don't know what's going on. On that day, Yahweh will snap the chains off your neck. You understand? Praise be to the Holy One of Israel. That's the day of your salvation. I will break his yoke from off your neck and snap your chains. Foreigners will no longer, what? Enslave him. Instead, they will serve Yahweh their Elohim and die with their king, whom I will raise up for them. And he's not going to raise him up from the dead. So don't be afraid, Yaakov, my servant. Don't be alarmed. For I will return you from far away, and your offspring from their country of exile. Yaakov will be quiet and at rest. No one will make him afraid. For I'm with you in verse number 11 to do what? You guys tell me. I'm with you to what? In verse number 11. Somebody say it. For I am with you to what?
Save you.
To
To
save you.
save you.
I will finish off all the nations where I scattered you. However, I will not finish you off. But I will discipline you only as you what? As you deserve. And I will not completely destroy you. You understand? So that's the teaching for today. That's the teaching. That's what the Holy One of Israel is telling us. That number one, I've called you guys and I'm testing you to find out if you're going to listen to the Torah. If you got a problem with the Torah, you got a problem with me because I'm the one who gave it to Moshe. If you buck up against what I said, you're bucking up against me. And if you want to do that, that's fine because I know that I know who the rebels are, and I know that there's rebels among my people. And you can see that in Ezekiel chapter number 20. I already told you, so it's not a big deal. So I know these people out here, especially some of your pastors and your rabbis and your leaders, are telling you that there's no rebels among the house of Israel anymore. That we're a different generation. I'm here to tell you that is not true. As an absolute falsehood. The truth is that if there weren't any rebels among the children of Israel, then why did the Creator say that they're among the children of Israel when he comes and gets them from all the countries? He said, I'm going to take them out of the lands where they've been scattered, but I know they're still with the children of Israel. I know that you guys are still rebels. And only you and I are the ones who know if we're a rebel. And it's not me to figure out who a rebel is, and it's not for me to judge that rebel. Why would I want to judge somebody that Yah already has an intention to judge? So let's get off of us trying to change people's hearts. If they don't want to follow the Holy One of Israel, that's fine. That's fine because Yah has something for them. He does. He does. Yeah. As I live, says Yahweh Elohim, I swear, surely with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and poured out fury, I myself will be king over you. I will bring you out from the peoples and gather you out from the countries where you were scattered with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and with poured out fury. Then I will bring you into the desert of the peoples and judge you face to face, just as I judged your ancestors in the desert of the land of Egypt. So I will judge you, says Yahweh Elohim. He's being honest. He's being fair. I will make you pass under the crook and bring you to the obligations of the covenant. If you said you're going to keep it, you're going to do it. I will rid you of the rebels. I will rid you of the rebels who are in revolt against me. This is after I brought you back. Yes, I will bring them out from the land where they were living, but they will not enter the land of Israel. And then what? Then you'll know. Then you'll know. Then you'll know. that I am Yahweh. So again, only way you and I are going to have this experience and know is he wants us to know. And he's going to make a difference between those who serve and those who don't. But don't fight against the Torah. If you do, you're going to lose. Okay. So what am I trying to do here? Am I trying to browbeat us? Am I trying to make us feel bad about certain things? No, what I'm telling you is all of us have a tendency to want to do what we want to do. We all have a tendency to want to accomplish our goals and our plans. If you set up your life to have what you want for you and your family, and it doesn't include the Torah, then it doesn't include the Torah. And Yah's not going to hand something to you, especially the land and the promise that he made to our fathers, because that land and that promise is contingent upon us doing and obeying what he said. And you can find that in Genesis 26:5. Only things have happened because your father Abraham did what I told him to do. It wasn't because he believed what I said, it's because he did what I said. So that's the difference between us and everyone else, is that we don't supposed to believe anything. What you're supposed to do is do what he says. And whatever he said is what he said. You don't have to find out whether or not, well, I want to see if it did happen. That's just a story that's written. Well, if that's the way you think, that's the way you think. And if you don't want to listen to the Torah, you want to listen to other books and other people like the prophets in the New Testament and other readings and Buddha and, different ideas and powerful thinking and New Age and all these types of things, then that's fine. Yah says that's fine. Continue to do what you're doing. But don't be mistaken that the people of Israel have to learn that Yahweh is our only Elohim and that his main objective is to show himself to us. And he has done that by sending us into exile. He has done that by us being in captivity so he can come and deliver us and show us his great power. So with that being said, I think we need to embrace our captivity. I think we need to embrace our guilt. I think we need to embrace the shameful things that we have done and understand that Yah can only be who he is when he shows us who he is by being merciful, compassionate, and forgiving sins and crimes. Because when he comes, you and I will be able to know him then say, wow, he kept his promise. Wow, he did raise up a son of David to be over us. Wow, he did establish the priesthood. Wow, we are going to continue forever like the sun, the moon, and the stars. So the promise for us is a continuance. And that's what this is all about. It's about having families and then continuing the line. So young men, you guys, it's about continuing your families. And then if you raise them and teach them, like we saw in Asaph in chapter number 78 today, that was a teaching to teach us that the only way that we can pass this on is to tell them about Yahweh's deeds. So Yahweh is going to provide you with the deeds. Right now, the deeds that we've read about are all to talk about what he's done so it can prep us and get our hearts prepared to when he does come, we'll be better apt to understand what's going on. And then we're going to have our experience like them. And then we're going to tell the next generation about all the things that Yahweh has done, because Yahweh wants us to acknowledge his power. And the only way he can do that is by, number one, coming to get us and to deliver us from our slavery. And that's where your salvation is. Salvation is not an idea of your sins being forgiven. Your sins are on you because you have done things, and the only way they can be washed off is they have to go through a process that has been established by the Creator through the priesthood. Yahweh says, I'm going to bring you out to the land. I'm going to cleanse you myself. A lot of times we're thinking, well, how's that going to be? It's going to be exactly the way that he's prescribed for Israel to be cleansed. We will have a priesthood. You will get sprinkled with clean water. There will be animals that are going to die, and their blood's going to be shed. That's why they were created. Just like the star, the sun, and the moon have their job, just like the skies and the clouds and the fire have their job, and the animals and the insects and everything has their job, and how the seasons listen. The leaves are falling off the tree outside. Why? Because it has been given instruction to do so. So is the tree complaining that it has to give up its leaves?
That's why I got that turkey roast.
Hey, Rivka, I can hear you.
I don't have any hot sauce on here.
Rivka.
What's wrong with you?
Rivka.
I'm biting on shells.
So what I'm saying is, the trees are not complaining. the animals are not complaining. And we're thinking that someone sold us or told us that life for us is at an end when you and I die. No, it continues. And we have to accept that. Let's stop trying to get around Yahweh's ways. Let's stop trying to manipulate him and make him do what we want him to do. You guys understand what I'm saying? Why do that? Why are we going back and forth with our creator? Why? Why can't we just have children, live our life, eat the best way we can, and just deal with it, you know? And even in our captivity, it's hard and it is very difficult. Well, shouldn't we continue to just live and just, if we could get some time with the Holy One of Israel and some understanding with him, and he knows how much time we're going to get with him. And he knows how much of our time we're going to get to him. Let's just make those adjustments. You know, let's just make those adjustments and let's be willing to go wherever we need to go with him. What do you guys say about that? Anybody want to say anything before I close?
That sounds, sounds wonderful to me.
Yeah, right. I don't see anything wrong with that. Do you guys?
No.
I personally think we'd be better off if we did it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that we need to, let's just be human and let's just accept where we are. Let's accept our punishment.
And Shema.
Yeah, and just say, you know what, I'm sorry. And yes, slavery was bad for our ancestors. And yes, what these people did was horrible. And I'm not downplaying that. What I'm saying is we're receiving and feeling the effects of this on us. And Yah says, and by us seeing it and experiencing, that should tell us something like, oh, he did mean what he said. Oh, you see, but if we go around him and try to circumvent what he said and say, well, I'm blessed and he's with me, and that's that whole Christian idea that, you know, oh, well, I'm the sanctuary, I'm the temple of the Holy One. And we take down that type of persona and that type of attitude, that minimizes the Holy One. We don't bring glory to him. Yahweh is glorified when man as a whole and humankind as a whole accepts responsibility for their actions. What do you think life would have been if Adam and Kuah would have said, you know what we have done is wrong, and what can we do? There's no narration on them saying anything except for playing the blame game. And Yah allowed that to give that information to be brought to Israel, so you and I can find out what is in the human heart and what the nations, because they're the fathers of all nations. Adam and Kuah are the parentage of the families of the nations. Doesn't matter if they were first or last. Yah used them as an example to show what the human condition is. Then he shows us that he picks a certain person out of that group, which is Noach. Then out of that group, he chooses out of his kids a certain one. Then out of there, he chooses to get to Abraham. And out of the nations, he chooses Abraham. Then he chooses, instead of Ishmael and all these other sons, he chooses Yitzchak. And then he goes from Yitzchak and he chooses Yaakov. And then out of Yaakov, he chose all of Yaakov's sons, okay, to be the children of Israel. But then even within that family, he chooses two families out of there. I'm going to choose Levi to be my priesthood. Why am I choosing them? Because their name is to draw and to join close, to join near. So I'm going to use them to have the people join near to me. And I'm also going to choose them because they have a certain type of attitude. They're willing to kill for me. You see this with, when I asked who's with Yahweh, when I asked Moshe to ask that, they got on my side. When they went to go serve Baal Peor. Then Pinchas, one of Eleazar's sons, got up and killed that man, Zimri and Cosby. He speared him right there in the tent. I love that because they're committed to what I'm talking about. So I need a family like that to control the family. I need a family like that to make sure that they can separate between that which is good and that which isn't. Well, Levi and Shimon went off, and Yah says that they shouldn't be around each other because they're brutal. We saw that they went and killed a whole bunch of men in the land of Shechem for raping their sister. You know what? Yah didn't condemn it for it. Why? Because those people wanted to join with Israel under false pretenses so they can take their wealth and take their daughters and become circumcised, not because they wanted to follow Yah's laws. It's because they wanted to take advantage of Israel, like they took advantage of Dinah. You understand? So Yah's choosing people. He chose David and his family because there's something about David that's different than Shaul from the tribe of Benjamin. There's something about this Yehuda, because that's where David came from. He came from that family line. Why Yehuda? Because Yehuda, when Joseph was, sold into slavery and stuff, he made up for what he did. He said, let me take responsibility. Let me give what I need to give. And he stood up to Joseph when Joseph wanted to, play the game and say, hey, I'm going to hold everybody responsible. He said, no, you know what? Take me. I'm going to take responsibility. Why? Because he's being a leader. So Yah chose these families to be leaders in Israel. And if those two families, not one of them, both of them, are necessary for our people as a whole, stop thinking about yourselves in that sense of if you're blessed or if you're this or you're that. Think about the whole entire nation. Think about how Yah feels that he's been separated from his people. He calls us his wife. We've been like a whore. We've been out there prostituting ourselves. He calls us a servant. We've been lazy. We've been going behind his back and making up all kinds of excuses why we can't serve him. We've been like a son who's been disrespectful to him and going against him and constantly fighting against his authority. We've been like a daughter who's just rebellious, who just won't listen. And we've been all those things to him. And yet he's never had a day with us. Not yet. We're all the whole entire house of Israel. Not just David and his family, not just the Lavaim, all of us, all Israel has come to be at rest with the Holy One. And all of us have come to respect our father. All of us come to be faithful to our husband. All of us has been a obedient servant. All of us has been a son and a daughter who's respectful and honorable. So think about what our goal is for our family, and then think about the ultimate goal is to teach other people in other nations how to build that same type of family structure. It cannot be built without Israel. And Israel cannot do this without Yah. That's what Yah is trying to teach us. You don't have any strength without me, and you never will, and you never have. You haven't defeated anybody because of how strong you are and great in number. It's been because of Yah's strength. And he gave that to us. He allowed us to have that. And that's the power of being Yisrael. Right now, Yaakov is in a state of working and there's nothing, no benefits. Working and enslaving for nothing. Everything you're doing right now means absolutely nothing. Going to your job and getting your career and doing your retirement means absolutely nothing because it doesn't better the nation. I want that to sit and resonate with you. I'm not trying to put you on a guilt trip. I'm trying to tell you where we are and where we should be and what we should be looking forward to. If the Holy One, he says, on the day that I choose. So David is not choosing a day. The day that Yahweh chooses, he says, on the day that I choose, I'm going to call you and I'm going to make you a light to the nations. That's when he chooses. So our prayer should be, choose that day, Yahweh, so we can be your people again, so we can execute your judgment, and so we can help change and develop the world the way that you intended, because we're the servant that you called to do so. You didn't call us to serve you just to be underneath you with just offerings and gifts and celebration. We got a job to do, people. So think about that. If you're thinking about your plans, you're thinking about your life and you're thinking about the generations to come, think about those things that we need to be able to do. If we hit this earth, like all of us have, you want to leave here knowing that you've made some type of contribution to the ultimate goal for Yahweh's plan. You would want to be the servant that said, I've done what I need to do, and you can. You can do that. You can start right now in your own family with your children and your family around you. They don't want to listen, that's fine. You can still be kind to other people. You can still display the holiness of Yahweh's day by telling people you can't work at my house on this day. You can still show kindness and mercy and long suffering as Yahweh has done. For those of us who have been out of the land and have been put out and disgraced and shamed, should understand that it's because of the behavior of our ancestors, which you and I have those same character traits that you and I need to get rid of and turn back to Yahweh with a whole heart. That's the Shabbat lesson today. I love each and every last one of you, and I mean that with all my heart. And I'm not a religious leader. I'm not. I don't get impressed with how much I know about the Hebrew language. Don't get impressed. Well, he knows exactly where that's at. Don't you dare look at that and say anything about that. What you need to understand is all that is for you. So you could go back and research it yourself. And don't be a lazy servant. Don't look for Yahweh just to keep feeding you. Do some work, exercise, get this down in your spirit. Read your Torah portions. He said, I test them to see if they would go out and go get that manna every single day to see if they would keep my Torah. Yah has used that same test. The same test is, will they pick up the Torah every day and read it as if they were going out getting bread every single day? Because the man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeded out the mouth of Yahweh. How often do you go get food? You get it every single day. How often should you get the Torah? You should get the Torah every single day. There are no excuses. So stop making excuses. Stop making reasons why you can't. Stop trying to figure a way around it. Stop trying to circumvent the deals. If you got issues in your life that you have done or said and things that you got problems with, go and bring them before Yahweh and tell him, I'm suffering from this because I haven't let it go. Show me, not that the surface of it, show me what's behind my rebellion. I know I'm rebelling. What is it? You guys don't think that I've ever rebelled against the Holy One? I haven't recently. My rebellion may not come as me being, out with a group of people that are supposed to be. My rebellion can be simply like, I want to be entertained with videos. I want to be entertained. I want to be on Facebook, or I want to look at stuff. Your eyes are attracted to different things. I want to be successful. I want to have my cars back. I want to, be on the streets again. You know what I mean? I want to go get this. I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So there's things in us that we're unaware of, and they're natural tendencies, but all because they're natural doesn't mean they're good. So what part of me is left? I need to ask Yah to take it from me. And I have to lose myself. The self that I want to hold on to is the one that got to go, because Yahweh wants something different for me. I can't serve Yahweh in the mindset that I was before I came into this. That's what I'm giving up. That's what I'm shooing away from. You're actually literally not turning away from the world. You're turning away from the way you think. I hope that makes sense. You're not turning away from, because you can't turn away from the world because you live in this world. You can't turn away from the grocery store, and you can't turn away from the parks and the job. You can't turn away from the idiots that are around you. You can't turn away from every time you see something that's sexualized on commercial. You can't turn away from that. It's already here. What you can't turn away from is your mindset. So if you're turning from something, you can turn from something to someone. Turn from something to someone. And you and I don't even understand what that really means. Yah loves you. And he does. And he swears it and he says it. And I said when he swore it that I love you. And he says it over and over again that he loves you. And he wants us to know it. I'm not going to say something that he didn't say. I thought I was done. I want to be, but I'm not. Because Yah's not finished talking. Yah says this to us. Blessed be his name. He says this. Verse 2. I love you. I love you, says Yahweh. I love you. But you ask, how do you show us your love? Yahweh answers, Esau was Yaakov's brother. Yet I love Yaakov, but I hated Esau. I made his mountains desolate and gave his territory to the desert jackals. That's all I wanted to tell you. That I love you. Don't you ever forget that. And don't you forget it on this Shabbat. Yahweh, Eloheinu, the Baruch atah Yahweh. Yahweh Eloheinu, we love you, Yahweh. Ahavanu, we love you, Yahweh. We ask today that you would forgive us for our crimes and our sins. You said that you're merciful, and you said you were compassionate, and you said that you're long suffering with us, and that you will forgive us. And you want to forgive us. But you also want us to admit and confess that we've gone against you, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. We have gone against you. We have gone against thy ways. We have been contrary and been in opposition to all your ways. We claim that we love you and that we know you prior to the Torah, and which was a complete lie. No. We have begun to even scratch the surface of who you are. We ask today that you would manifest yourself to us by coming to get us, to save us, and that you will reveal your power to us as you did to our ancestors. We're not going to ask you for anything that you haven't given to us before. Oh, praise be to your name. We ask that you reveal yourself to us like you did to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. We ask today that you reveal yourself to us like you did to our ancestors in Mitzrayim, as you have, by revealing your name to us. I bless you, because it said is the name that you would be known forever from generation to generation. You revealed yourself to them while they were in Mitzrayim, in their slavery, in their captivity, in their distress. We're calling on you like our ancestors called Yahweh. And we're remembering that you said that Anoki Yahweh Eloheinu, you are Yahweh, our Elohim, the Hotzithika, that you brought us out from the land of Mitzrayim, from a house of bondage. You said that you're the Elohim from Mitzrayim. That's our contact point. That's the time in which you've introduced yourself to our family. We ask today, Yahweh, on this day, this Yom Shabbat, this beautiful day, Yahweh, the Yafeh Yom, hallelujah, praise be to your name, that you have ceased our hands from work to take a look at all the things that you've made. We thank you that we have an opportunity throughout all the week, Yahweh, to come to a day that we can learn from you, where we have nothing restraints against us, that we can use our eyes and our ears and our hands and our taste today and our touch. We can feel things, Yahweh, today that you've made. We can taste things that you've made. Hallelujah, blessed be your name. We thank you, Yahweh, for clarifying to us today of what it means to be tested by your Torah. We thank you that you've shown us that you are our Elohim, and that you want to save us, and that you're going to deliver us. And we thank you. We thank you for each individual here today, Yahweh, on Zoom, and those who are watching live stream on YouTube. And we're asking today, Yahweh, that you would search us. Dorashtanu, Yahweh. Search us. Find the things in us that are offensive to you and bring them to our attention today. And for the rest of this week that's coming up, Yahweh, and let us start working on those things. We work on jobs, we work on projects, we work on businesses, we work on all types of other things. And yet we forget about ourselves. I ask today that you would remind us that we are your children and we are your people, and we're supposed to live to a certain standard. We're supposed to be just in our dealings. We're supposed to be weighted and our understanding. Praise be to the Holy One of Israel. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Praise the Holy One. Any contributions, additions, or subtractions before I let you go on and continue your day?
Beautiful lesson. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Baruch atah. Baruch atah. Baruch atah means bless you. Baruch atah. Yes.
Okay.
Baruch atah. Anyone else?
Akika David.
Yes, my sister, my dear sister Belinda.
I wanted to just say about the when we started in the beginning about when we were talking about the light,
Yes.
the sun, and it just came to me, you think about it, but then it's like it's a physical light, but it's not a spiritual light. It's not the light of the Most High, and that's kind of like what I got from what you
Right.
were saying. The light that He created in the beginning
Mhm.
was a light that extended from Him, but it
Yes.
had nothing to do with the physical light that we see. And
Yeah.
that's why the sun was never meant to be worshiped.
Yes.
And
Power.
that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, that's
I mean,
beautiful.
there's more I want to say, but that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, well, that's beautiful. I love what you just said. I needed to hear that because as you stated, he wants the see is the sun was only given to show and to let us know that behind the sun, this is the time of light. This is and if you notice the Shabbat is to be kept during the day. So anything of illumination and the illumination of an illumination of us in our souls have to be that which is done in the light. Yah has asked us to, even when we make our offerings to him, it's not done in the dark. It's done in the morning and it's done in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
It's right before the evening. It's never, there's no celebration in the darkness.
It's not hidden.
It's not hidden, yes. And so that's what he's letting us know, that that which is in the light is that which reveals. I mean, we can't even see colors on anything without the light. The light is the things of organization, and you can see everything that he's done. So that's a very powerful statement that you said. Very powerful, and I thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Good to see you, Sister Claudia. Kiss brother Jay for me.
I'll do hello to all. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. How's things in Florida? Good?
Not too bad at all. Overcasted today, but it's a beautiful Shabbat day.
It's a beautiful Shabbat day.
Yes,
Praise the
indeed.
Lord. Yes.
Hi, Sister Jeannie, Sister Rennie, the ones I know online.
Good to see you
Shabbat
guys.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you, Sister Sasha. I did enjoy you too. I thank you for coming to class today. So good to see you. Sister Sasha, everyone, is Aki, Brother Kent's wife. Wonderful family. Good to see you on, Gennaro. Hallelujah. Praise be to the Holy One of Israel. Shalom.
Hey, Dawid,
Yes, sir.
on that chart that shows the Torah portions,
Uh-huh.
and you bring that up and break it down like which seasons you read which portions.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's cool. I'm glad you mentioned that. No worries. Let's do that right quick. For those with Aki's talking about is this chart right here. Okay. This chart is on kabah.org. And what we find is literally what I've discovered is that the Torah is like in a seasonal, right? So let me get my little thing here. Why that's not doing it? Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. So right now, I mean, we just started right here, right? And I forgot exactly what the time was that we started, but what Kent's talking about is that by time we get to Shemot, generally like about right about, I think it's in here. Yeah, it is. Around this time, this is when the spring is going to start. And that's when our reading is going to be. Okay. During the difference is, and it goes further than Mishpatim. It just starts in the spring. So according to how the Torah is like outlined on how things are supposed to go, we were supposed to start this Torah portion here in Bo in the springtime. Okay. Right now we've done better sheet and we're in the fall season. Okay. So we're in fall. Yes, we got a little thing there. Okay. You're welcome. So yeah, we're in a fall. And so as we're still in fall, we're still in fall, we're still in fall, we're still in fall. Yeah, so right here, right? And then we're about to go in. I forgot exactly the date of winter, but what he's basically saying is during each part of the Torah portions, they're in different seasons. And then you'll go into winter, and then once you go into winter, and then you're going to go into the spring, and it's going to go into the spring, it's going to come down and so forth, and it's going to go into fall again. I mean, it's summer, excuse me. What's wrong with my mind? And then you're going to go from the spring, and the spring is going to go down, and the spring is going to come back up again. It's going to come down here, and I think right about here sometime, it might be the summer. Then you're going to keep going and going. It's going to go into fall again. Okay, so the Torah is literally in seasons. Okay, and every time that I've read it so far, we might hit the Exodus around springtime. So even the Torah itself is outlined that way. And that's why it's read in the cycles that it's read. Now, even all these words, like you see Shemot, Vayera, Bol, Veshalach, Mishpatim, you're like, oh, I don't know the Hebrew, so I don't know what this stuff means. Well, I would challenge each and every last one of you to go and find your way to Google and just take in his name and go look it up what it means, and Akoreth Moth. Once you know the Hebrew language, you're like, oh, I know what that means after death. I know what Kodashim means, the set apart ones. Oh, I know what Amar or more means. It means to speak, to say. Oh, I know what Bahar means, on the mountain. Oh, I know what Bukukotakai means, in the statutes. Oh, I know what Kukat means, the statutes again. Oh, this is Balak. This is the name of a guy who did what he did. And then we got Pincus right here is another guy, who did that. And Matot is death again, talks about death. Judges right here, Shaftim, Ra'e, Si, Akeb, because once you learn your words, you'll know what it means. At the end, while you shave, and he sent, and Washilak, he sent, and he dwelt, and it was the end, and he approached, and he saw, and Lech Lekah, and he went, in the life of Sarah, and the generations, the judgments, the name of this Yathro, this means to go, and so you'll find out what these words mean, and then you'll understand what the Torah portion means. But every single day, it tells you exactly what to do. So when you go to kabbalah.org, this coming up for tomorrow, Yom Rishon, which will be the first day of the week, we're going to have a new Torah portion, and that Torah portion will be right here. And it's only, look, chapter 37 and chapter 40. That's all it is, 3 chapters. You have 7 days to read it. And every day you read a little part of it each day. And it tells you exactly what little part to read. And you click on it like this on Yashave. You click on it. And it will tell you what it means. And you go right here and go to Torah reading. And boom, there you go. Tells you what it means. Right there. And Yaakov dwelt. That was that word Yoshev right here. That's what it means. Dwelt. And they give you 7 days. So if you look up there at the top, first day, second day, third day. What I mean, right here. Surprised that's not working. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh day. You click on that, it'll give you each day. And so the first day, which you read tomorrow, you'll read chapter 37, verse number 1. And you will go from verse 1 to 11. And that's it. And so what do? Well, I'll read it. Okay. Then after I read it, what do? Well, don't read it fast, read it slow. And then when you read it slow, then you can say, okay, I want to see, what does this mean? So then you go to the creator and you get on your knees or on your face and you bow down and you ask him before you read this. And after you read it, what does it mean? And if you really want to know, and you meditate upon it all day long and think about it, when you go to sleep, it may come to you. That's what I do. I asked him, what does that mean? And he might give it to me. He might not. He may wait 4 or 5 days to give me the meaning of what I've been looking for all week. Or he might wait till the last day to tell me what it means. So don't rush him. Don't ask him to do something because you want to hurry up and get it done. And he'll answer it. Does that make sense? So the Torah is seasonal. So stay on your seasons, stay on your days, and you'll be fine. And you do this because you're waiting for the Holy One of Israel to come back and to take you back to your land. Anyone else? All right. Well, Shabbat Shalom to you guys, and I will see you on Yom Shilishi.